Hi there. I'm really glad you found your way here tonight. Maybe today you had to carry more than your heart could really hold. All the things you had to do, all the expectations you tried to show up for, all the responsibilities piling up like waves. While you only have one small pair of shoulders to hold them. You might not say it out loud, but I know you've been trying so hard. Sometimes it isn't the body that's tired. It's the mind that's too full. Like a backpack, everyone keeps slipping something into. And you've gotten used to tightening every muscle, just so nothing falls out. But tonight, you don't have to tighten anything. You don't have to be stronger than you are. You don't have to finish anything. Here, you're allowed to breathe. You're allowed to set everything down for a moment. You're allowed to let the night hold you just a little. And if these slow minutes make you feel even a bit lighter, you can only if you want. Subscribe or leave me a small note. Tonight, that alone is already enough. Just imagine you're walking down a small path leading toward a quiet riverside at dusk. A soft breeze brushes your collar, carrying the scent of cool water and the last warm touch of sunlight. The river flows slowly, as if it's letting you know there's nothing that needs to hurry in this moment. You step a little closer, and the surface of the water begins reflecting the sky inside your tired eyes. And right there, at the edge of that quiet river, is where tonight's story begins. Along the same river you were just imagining, there was a small village. The roofs were tiled in dull gray, and in the late afternoon, kitchen smoke rose slowly like lazy little clouds. On the edge of that village lived a boy named Leo. Leo was the kind of kid who always wanted to try a little harder. He wanted to run the fastest in class, get the best grades, help his parents the most. No one told him he had to be that way. But every time he saw the adults tired, he would think, if I'm better, everyone will suffer less. From then on, it was like there was an invisible hand squeezing his heart, whispering, keep going. Not enough. You don't get to rest yet. Grandpa's boat. Leo's grandpa worked as a boatman on the river. His old wooden boat had been there since before Leo could even walk. Whenever he had free time, Leo would run down to the riverbank, sit at the bow, and watch the water drift by. His grandpa often said, "The river has its work, and the boat has its work. The river's job is to flow. The boat's job is to know how to borrow the current to move." Leo loved hearing that, but he didn't really understand. In his head, there was only one kind of language. Have to try, have to be fast, have to be just a bit better. The wind of competition. One day, the school announced a rowing contest for all the kids in the village. Whoever could row upstream all the way to the stone bridge would be crowned the strongest kid of the summer. The children were excited. When Leo heard about it, something in his chest lit up like fire. I have to win. If I win, Mom and Dad will be happy. Grandpa will be proud. I won't feel just average anymore. That afternoon, he ran down to the river, begging Grandpa to let him borrow the boat to practice. Grandpa looked into Leo's eyes, bright, but a little too intense, sat quietly for a moment, and said, "All right, but remember this. A boat was not born to fight with the water. Practice, but don't hurt yourself." Leo nodded, but at that moment, his ears only caught two words: "I must win." Training against the current. The next morning, Leo pushed the boat out into the middle of the river by himself. The water was drifting gently downstream, soft as someone rocking a child to sleep. Leo turned the bow around, aiming it toward the stone bridge upstream. "It's just water," he whispered to himself. "All I have to do is be stronger than it." He buried the oar in the water and pulled with all his strength. The boat moved forward a little, then the current pulled it back. Leo bit his lip and tried again. Sweat began to drip down his forehead, but in his mind there was only one familiar voice. "Not enough. Push more. If you're tired, it just means you haven't tried hard enough." The boat kept straining. Leo kept straining. The river, however, remained as gentle as before. It wasn't trying to drag him back. It was simply flowing in its own way. The only one trying to force his heartbeat to move in the opposite direction was Leo. The feeling of collapse in the middle of the river. After a long while, Leo's arms began to shake. His breath burned hot in his chest. But when he looked up, the stone bridge was still far, far away. "I'm so weak," he thought. "Everyone else has probably made it there by now. I have to push harder." He dug the oar into the water one more time. But this time, His arms refused to listen. The oar slipped from his hands and fell into the river. The boat turned sideways, and the current began to carry it away. Panic shot through Leo. No, I have to control the boat. I have to hold it in place. I can't let it drift. He reached out, trying to grab the oar back, but the water had already carried it too far. Leo sat there, gasping for air, watching his boat with no one rowing it slowly begin to drift with the current. The strange thing was, the boat moved very smoothly. No jerking, no straining, no pain. It's just that it wasn't moving the way he wanted it to. After a little while, another boat came gliding over. It was Grandpa. He gently hooked a rope onto Leo's boat and pulled it close. "You okay?" he asked. Leo lowered his head, feeling both ashamed and sad. I couldn't do it. I tried as hard as I could, but the boat still wouldn't make it to the bridge. I'm weak, aren't I, Grandpa? Grandpa didn't answer right away. He sat down beside Leo and looked out at the sparkling water. "Did you notice," he said slowly, "that this whole time you haven't really paid attention to which way the river is flowing?" Leo went quiet. He realized that from the moment he got in the boat, he had only been looking at the bridge, only staring at the goal he thought he had to reach, and never once really looked at the water right beneath him. "You know," Grandpa continued, "in our village, there are people who row boats their whole lives and never burn out. Because they don't fight the water. They learn how to read the current. When the water is strong, they let the boat drift with it and just make sure it doesn't crash into the shore. When the water is weak, they add some of their own strength, but only just enough. They're not trying to prove anything." He turned to Leo. "But you, today you used all your strength to go against the whole river. You thought that was trying your best. But in truth, it's the fastest way to wear yourself out." Leo felt his throat tighten. "I just wanted everyone to be proud of me," he whispered. "My teachers, my parents, you too. I'm scared that if I'm not good enough, it'll just be a burden." Grandpa gave him a soft, sad smile. "My boy, the burden is not you. The burden is the way you keep forcing your heart to always go against the current." Grandpa pointed down at the water. "Look," he said, "the water is always moving in one direction. That's the nature of a river. And a boat, if it knows how, will be lifted by the water. It doesn't have to row all the time. It doesn't have to strain non-stop. Life is the same. There are things you do need to work hard for. But there are other things you can simply let flow. Leo didn't understand everything, but his heart felt something loosen, like a tightrope finally softening a little. So, what should I do, Grandpa? First, Grandpa said, you have to learn to notice whether right now you're going against the current or moving with it. If you feel like you're always tired, always tensed up, always scared of failing, then maybe you're rowing against too many things at once. You can try putting the oar down for a while and see if staying still or drifting a little is really as scary as you think. You might discover the river has been helping you more than you realized. A few days later, the day of the race arrived. Leo went back to the river. This time, he still wanted to join, but inside, there was no more yelling voice saying, "I must win." He stepped into the boat, sat down, and did something he had never done before. He took a deep breath, looked at the water beneath him, and listened. The people on the shore were loud. The drums sounded the start of the race. The boats shot forward. Leo started to row, but every time he felt his arms begin to burn, he remembered Grandpa's words. You only need to add your strength right when it's needed. The rest of the time, let the water do its part. He stopped forcing himself. Instead of fighting the river, he lined the boat up so it sat straight in the current, so that with each stroke, he wasn't attacking the water anymore, but more like the two of them were working together. Leo didn't reach the stone bridge first. A few other kids rowed hard and touched the bridge before he did. But strangely, when his boat reached the shore, Leo didn't feel like head lost. He only felt that this time he hadn't had to battle the river at all. He stepped onto the bank and saw Grandpa smiling softly at him. I didn't win, Leo said. You did, Grandpa answered. You beat that old habit of forcing yourself to always push beyond your limit. That night, Leo lay in bed, listening to the wind slip over the roof and the sound of the river far away. He thought about all the days he had pushed himself to be better, faster, more helpful, so no one would ever have to be sad because of him. He suddenly realized, because of that, he hadn't given his own heart a single real day of rest. He smiled just a little. Maybe I just need to learn how to go with the flow instead of always fighting it. Outside, the river kept flowing. It didn't know about races. It didn't know about grades. It didn't know about pressure. It just did what it was born to do. Move toward the sea, steadily, without forcing anything. Leo closed his eyes and imagined that same river flowing inside him too. A gentle stream carrying away all the extra worries, all the overdoing, all the harsh you have to do more echoing in his mind. He fell asleep without even noticing when. Tonight, if you feel a bit like Leo, straining to row upstream on some river in your own life, this story only wants to whisper one small thing. Maybe you don't need to be stronger. Maybe you just need to fight a little less with the current that's quietly trying to carry you. Imagine you're standing by a quiet river. The late afternoon water drifts slowly, as if whispering, "It's okay. Everything will find its way home." You look down at the surface. There's no resistance, no forcing, no silent pressure pushing from underneath. Just movement, gentle, steady, completely natural. Even when it meets a rock, or a tree root, or a narrow gap between stones, the water never stops to get angry. It never asks, "Why are you blocking my way?" It simply finds another direction, slipping around the obstacle as softly as a breath, and keeps flowing, still gentle, but never weak. The longer you watch the river, the more you'll notice something strange. It isn't forceful. It isn't rigid. It isn't proud. It isn't straining. Yet water is the very thing that can carve through mountains, wear stone into sand, shape valleys and deep canyons. It does all of that, not through strength, but through persistence wrapped in softness. Sometimes water doesn't move forward. It pulls back to find another path. Not failure, wisdom. You've been pushing for months now, pushing to get through, pushing so you won't fall behind, pushing so no one is disappointed, pushing so you look fine. But sometimes what you need isn't more pushing. It's to flow again, like water. Near that river, there's a cluster of bamboo. When the evening breeze blows through, the bamboo leans to one side, then slowly leans to the other. From afar, it looks almost too soft to stand upright. But when storms come, when bigger trees crash down, the bamboo remains. Why? Because bamboo knows how to bend. It never sees bending as weakness. It sees it as a way to not be broken. In your own life, there are days when you're like that bamboo, tilted by the winds of the mind, bending under the weight of everything, feeling like you can't stay upright anymore. But bending doesn't mean you're wrong. It's how you protect yourself. The strongest person is not the one who never bends, but the one who knows when to bend, so they don't break. Water and bamboo teach the same truth. Real strength doesn't live in tension. It lives in softness. When you tighten too much, your heart tightens, your shoulders tighten, your sleep tightens, your thoughts tighten, and everything inside you feels like it might crack. But when you soften, your breath deepens, your heartbeat slows, your mind gets quieter, your body stops bracing against the world. You feel enough, not sprinting against yourself anymore. Soft is not weak. Soft is how you go farther. Maybe somewhere inside you, there's a part that's become stiff like dry wood. The part that keeps forcing you to do better, try harder, fight every emotion, prove your worth. That part is tired, exhausted, heavy, like the boat Leo tried so hard to row upstream. But tonight, you're being invited into a different rhythm. Slow down a little. Soften a little. Don't force yourself to understand everything. Don't push harder than needed. Don't make your mind move forward. All you need is to flow like water and bend like bamboo. Just in this small moment, just enough so you don't hurt more. If you place your hand over your heart right now, you might feel it beating a little softer than when you arrived. You may not notice it, but your mind has already begun to follow a gentler rhythm. No one teaches water how to flow. No one teaches bamboo how to bend. Nature taught them how to live in ways that don't injure themselves. And tonight, if you're truly tired, you can try living the same way, not fighting what's already here, not forcing what hasn't come, not holding too tightly to the things that want to loosen, not making yourself stronger than reality requires. Just soften a little, soft like water, bending like bamboo, and let the natural current carry you somewhere lighter than you expect. Imagine you're watching a young woman pulling an old wooden cart behind her. On the cart are heavy bags, stones, firewood, food, and things that don't even have names. All the shoulds, all the ought tos, all the expectations placed on her since she was very small. She walks step by step, her shoulders tightened so much, her back begins to bend, and her posture feels strangely familiar because it looks exactly like yours on your most exhausted days. There are things that are truly heavy: work, money, responsibilities, the people you care for, the tasks you must finish. But there's another kind of burden, one no one sees, one no one mentions, yet it drains you more than anything else. The invisible load. It sounds like this: I have to be strong. I can't make mistakes. I should do better. I can't let anyone down. If I don't hold everything together, it will all fall apart. Those have-tos are like nameless stones dropped into your cart, little by little. Back to the young woman. Look closer, and you'll notice something important. Someone is holding the rope of the cart, pulling in the opposite direction, and she doesn't even know. A child tugging because they're afraid she'll walk too fast. A neighbor trying to help but slowing her down. a relative whose sharp words added a pressure she now carries like debt. They're not cruel. They just don't realize they're making the cart heavier. Just like your life. People, comments, expectations, work demands, all tug on your rope, and all you feel is, why am I so tired? Why does everything feel so heavy? But the truth is, you're not weak. You're just being pulled from more directions than you realize. You're not tired because of one huge thing. You're tired because of 100 tiny things without names. A small worry, a small judgment, a small comparison, a late night text, something you forgot, one quiet voice whispering, you should do better. One pebble is nothing, but a whole cart of pebbles. That's another story. In your imagination, the young mother finally stops. Not because she's giving up, but because she simply cannot take another step. This is the moment we call burnout. But burnout isn't failure. Burnout is the body whispering, you're carrying too much that isn't yours. When she finally looks behind her, she sees the hands pulling on the rope. Some she loves. Some she has tried desperately to please. Some she never felt safe saying, I'm tired too. And in that moment, she understands. She has to let go of part of the rope. Not responsibility, but unrealistic expectations. Letting go isn't giving up. Letting go means not making yourself heavier than you already are. Letting go means putting down the things you've been carrying just to prove you're good enough. Letting go means saying, this is the limit of my strength tonight. The rest life needs to help me with. The young mother doesn't abandon the cart. She simply removes what doesn't belong to her. And when she takes out a few stones, her shoulders feel lighter in a way that surprises her. You can do the same tonight. Not cutting everything out. Not making drastic changes. Just taking one stone off your own cart. One expectation. One self-blame. One I must. That's enough. If you're worn down by life right now, maybe life isn't crushing you. Maybe you're carrying roles that are too big, expectations that aren't yours, fears that don't belong to you, standards you never agreed to. invisible burdens no one taught you how to set down. And tonight, you can acknowledge one simple truth. You're not exhausted because you're weak. You're exhausted because you've been strong for too long. You've been walking for years with other people's cargo mixed into your own. Now it's time to exhale a little and tell yourself, I'm going to carry less of what isn't mine. No big decisions, no sudden changes, just one softer step. The rest, well, slowly set down together. Late in the afternoon, the river shimmered with a pale silver light. The trees on both banks swayed as if they were breathing with the wind. Ava stood at the small ferry dock with dark circles under her eyes and a tired face, all weak, shed, been working late into the night. Email after email, message after message, deadline stacked on deadline. She felt like she was running across a field of sand. With every step, her feet sank deeper, and yet she was still being pushed to run faster. Ava had come here because she had heard people say, when you're too tired, go to the river. This river teaches people how to breathe slower. At the dock, there was an old man with gray hair and a slightly curved back, rolling up a coil of rope. Mr. Elliot, a man who had spent his whole life rowing this ferry. Ava didn't know how to start a conversation. She just stood there, staring at the rushing water. Mr. Elliot glanced over and gave her a gentle smile. You trying to get to the other side? Ava shook her head. I don't know yet. Not knowing is still a kind of knowing, he chuckled. At least you know you need to stop for a moment. Something in Ava's chest loosened. Just a little. It had been so long since anyone said something like that to her. Mr. Elliot motioned for Ava to come closer to the water's edge. Look at the river, he said. Ava looked. The water was running stronger than usual today. Whirling foam, currents slamming into the nose of the old boat. If I row out there now, it would only wear me out. Rough water means it's not the right moment yet. Ava frowned. But if we try hard enough, we can still get across, right? Mr. Elliot smiled kindly. Of course. You'd be panting and half dead by the time you arrive. But sure, you'd get there. The real question is, he paused, is that kind of getting there actually worth it? Ava went quiet. That question landed in a very specific place inside her. The place she had been avoiding for many months. At my job, Ava whispered, I have to push through right away. Tears nearly rose to her eyes. If I don't reply right away, don't finish right away, don't fix things right away, everything falls apart. I'm scared that if I stop even for a little bit, no one will trust me anymore. Mr. Elliot set the oar down, sat on the bow, like he was about to tell an old story. There are people who row boats their whole lives, he said, and they only row when the water is on their side. And then there are others, always fighting the river, thinking the more they strain, the more admirable it is. But in the end, they're the ones who burn out first. When I was young, Mr. Elliot continued, I was just like you. With every task, I wanted to do it right now. If anyone asked for help, I said yes. The moment my boat touched the dock, it'd turn around and row straight back out. No time to breathe. One day the current was really strong. I looked over at the other bank, saw passengers waiting, so I forced myself to go. Not even halfway across. My arms were so tired, my hands went numb. My heart was pounding like it wanted to jump out of my chest. And that's when I understood. Strong current isn't the enemy. Strong current is just a sign that says, not right now. Ava felt her throat tighten. Mr. Elliot, she whispered, how do you not feel scared when you stop? He looked up at the sky, turning evening purple. You probably think, he said, that peace means knowing everything, being good at everything, having everything done. Ava nodded softly. But to me, he continued, peace is the moment I can say, I don't know yet. I'm not ready yet. I need to wait a little longer. I don't know yet, he repeated gently, is a very gentle sentence. It doesn't force you to push. It doesn't force you to run away. It simply gives you a little space in between to breathe. Ava felt something soften behind her ribs. I don't know yet, she whispered. And the strange thing was, it felt comforting. They sat quietly for a long while, listening to the water as the currents slowly calmed down. The wind eased, the sun set spread across the river like spilled gold. "Do you see it?" Mr. Elliot said softly. "The river is changing." Ava looked again. The water wasn't wild anymore, just drifting quietly. "It settled on its own," she whispered. "No one made it." "Exactly," he said. "And so the boat doesn't need to rush either. People think doing something immediately is strength," he added. "But sometimes the wisest action is to do nothing. Waiting for the water to calm down isn't avoidance. It's preparation." Ava swallowed. For years, she believed stopping equals failure. Resting equals irresponsible. Not knowing equals not good enough. And yet here, next to an old ferryman, she finally saw how untrue that was. "Mr. Elliot," she whispered, "tonight, I feel like I don't have to know everything anymore. I can wait a little." He rested a hand on her shoulder, gentle as the breeze. "You just said one of the most important sentences of your life." When the surface of the river finally grew calm, Mr. Elliot stood up and untied the rope. "Now it's time," he said softly. "Shall we?" Ava stepped into the boat, feeling something she hadn't felt in a long while. The relief of someone who no longer has to outrun her own exhaustion. Mr. Elliot rowed gently, each stroke steady, unhurried, almost like breathing. The boat glided across the river, smooth as silk, carried by both the oar and the softened current beneath it. Ava looked down at the water and suddenly understood. If I had tried to force myself across earlier, she whispered, all I would have felt was fear. But now the river is helping me. When they reached the other bank, Mr. Elliot tied the rope around the post and turned to her with a warm smile. You just did something very hard, he said. You learned how to wait. Ava felt her chest loosen, like a knot slowly undoing itself. Tomorrow, she said softly, when work floods me again, I'll ask myself one question. And what question is that? Is right now the right moment? If it isn't, I'll pause. Wait for my mind to settle. Wait until I can see clearly again. Mr. Elliot nodded, eyes bright but soft. That's it, he said. You don't have to handle everything right away. You just need to know when to move. Ava stepped onto the riverbank, the wind brushing her face. Cool, tender, almost like gratitude. Tears gathered in her eyes again, but this time they weren't from exhaustion. They were from relief, from softness, from finally giving herself the permission she had needed for years. "I don't know yet," she whispered, letting the words settle inside her like warm light filling a quiet room. "I don't know yet, and that's okay." Mr. Elliot placed a hand over the boat's wooden rail, watching the river reflect the last streaks of fading orange. "Life is wide, Ava," he said gently. "No need to hurry. The water will settle, and you will be at peace again too." There's something interesting about the brain that most people never notice. Your brain has never been tired because of right now. It only gets tired when it runs back into the past to replay mistakes, runs ahead into the future to imagine danger, runs back and forth between the two until your heart beats faster and your breath turns shallow. But in this moment, right now, as you're lying here or sitting quietly here, there is no wild animal chasing you, no urgent voice calling your name, no door you must rush through this very second. You are safe. Your body knows that. It's only your mind that hasn't caught up yet. Scientists call this the default mode network, the part of the brain that switches on when you're not doing anything. But instead of resting, it wanders. Did I say something wrong back then? Tomorrow is going to be awful. What if I messed everything up? What if something bad happens? I should have done better. Thoughts like these make your heart beat a little faster. Heat rise in your chest. Tiny muscles around your neck and shoulders tighten. You call it stress. Your brain calls it trying to protect you. But it doesn't know you don't live in the forest anymore. You're just worried too much. Here's something important. Your brain cannot stay in the past when you're feeling your body in the present. The moment you pay attention to your hand resting on the blanket, the fabric touching the skin of your neck, your chest rising with each inhale, the warm line running down your arm, your belly expanding just a little as you breathe in, the soft warmth leaving your lips as you breathe out. Your brain instantly receives the message. Oh, nothing is threatening me. I'm here. I'm safe. When that signal is sent, your parasympathetic nervous system, the part that helps your body relax, steps in. It quietly lowers your heart rate, releases the belly, softens your shoulders, relaxes your gaze, turns down the mental noise. You don't need to be good at meditation. You don't need a special technique. You just need to notice one tiny thing. For example, your chest lifting just a little each time you inhale gently. Are you trying to calm down? Trying to breathe deeper? Trying to stop thinking so much? Let me tell you this. Peace doesn't come from trying. Peace comes when you stop trying to create it. Your body already knows how to be peaceful. It has known for millions of years. When the breath slows, the heart slows. When the heart slows, the brain understands no danger. When the brain understands, thoughts shrink. When thoughts loosen, you return to the present. All of that begins from tiny signals. The feeling of your hand on the blanket, and a breath that leaves your body slower than it enters. You don't need to be strong. You don't need to know everything. You just need to give your body a chance to remember how it was designed to be calm. Try this gently. No forcing, no effort. Place one hand on your chest or belly. Just feel your hand touching you. Then exhale, just a little slower. Notice how your body responds. Your shoulders drop a bit. Tension in your head soften. Your breath widen half a beat. Your chest loosen. Your heart settle slightly. You don't need much, just a little. Your body interprets that as the message. Everything's okay. We're here. We don't need to run anymore. The past weighs you down. The future makes you anxious. Only the present moment asks nothing from you. It doesn't demand you improve. It doesn't say you're not enough. It doesn't compare you to anyone. Right now only contains your breath, your heartbeat, sensations on your skin, the weight of your body resting on the bed, and a circle of safety opening around you. You don't need to handle tomorrow. You don't need to fix yesterday. You only need to be here with yourself. In this moment, nothing is missing. Nothing needs to be done. Nothing is wrong. You can tell yourself, calm down, but your mind won't listen. You can plead, please stop worrying, but your heart still races because the brain doesn't believe words. It believes the body. And every time you exhale softly, every time you feel your hand on the blanket, every time you return to skin warmth breath, your brain instantly understands. I am safe right now. That's why the present moment, only the present moment, is the one place where peace truly exists. And right now, you're standing right at the doorway to it. You just need to stay here for a little while longer. There's a beautiful little image in everyday life that most people never stop long enough to notice. When a cup receives water, it always bows. It doesn't compete. It doesn't lift itself high. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't push against the flow that's coming. It simply tilts quietly, opening a soft, gentle space so the water can pour in. Do you see it? The bowing, the softness, the non-resistance, the acceptance. These qualities are often mistaken for weakness, but in truth, they are wisdom. Imagine a cup filled right to the brim. It's stiff, standing straight, unmoving, trying to hold its shape. If you pour water into it, the water simply spills over. Nothing enters. Nothing is received. The cup isn't wrong. It just has no space, no room to take anything in. People are the same. When we cling to our opinions, when we tighten ourselves to appear strong, when we fight our pain, when we insist I'm fine, when we refuse to let ourselves be soft, we lose the space to be held, to be loved, to be healed. A mind that's too full cannot hold peace. A heart stretched too tight has no room for tenderness. When the cup tilts, it creates a receiving space, a soft place with no pushing. no controlling. Water flows in as if it's been waiting for that moment. The mind is the same, only when you bow a little, away from the pressure to be perfect, away from the expectation to excel, away from the belief I can handle everything alone, away from the fear of appearing weak. Do you create room for peace to enter? You don't bow to make yourself smaller. You bow to open, to receive. The magic of water is this: it flows wherever there's no resistance. And the magic of peace is exactly the same. Bowing is not surrender, not giving up, not weakness. Bowing is acknowledging your exhaustion, allowing yourself not to know everything, being gentle with unfinished things, letting go of the shoulds that drain you, allowing others to support you, letting life flow with you, not against you. Bowing is the first step toward being filled again. A rigid cup will remain forever rigid. A cup that can bow will always be filled. There's a soft truth the human heart forgets quickly. Pain doesn't dissolve when you push it down. It dissolves when you open the door and let it move through. If you injure your hand, touching it hurts, but hiding it, tightening around it, pretending it's nothing, none of that helps it heal faster. Emotional wounds are the same. When you tell yourself, "I'm fine, I can't be weak, I need to get over it fast. No one can see me like this." It's like pressing harder on the wound. It hurts more. But when you bow a little and say, "I'm hurt today, I'm tired, I need a pause," you create space for healing to enter. The pain is no longer trapped inside. It begins to flow. When the cup tilts, the water enters without noise, without force, without breaking anything. It simply glides in the way water always knows how. Have you ever noticed that the moments you receive the most support are the moments you no longer have the strength to pretend you're strong? When you cry and someone sits beside you in silence, when your shoulders drop and someone places a blanket over you, when you whisper, "I don't know anymore," and the other person says it's okay. Those are the moments you bow, and compassion flows in. No one pours water into a cup that's bracing itself, but everyone feels safe pouring into a cup that has opened. A cup filled too high will overflow, and a heart holding pain too long will crack. But cracking is not the end. Cracking is the heart saying, "My dear, you've carried too much." And after the crack comes forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It isn't erasing. It isn't saying they didn't do anything wrong. Forgiveness is not holding yourself above others, not bracing against everything, not tightening around being right, not forcing strength. Forgiveness is the heart bowing to its own experience. When the cup stands upright, water can only remain inside it. But when it tilts, some of the excess water naturally rolls out. Your heart is the same. When you loosen control, loosen tension, loosen your grip, then the things that have overstayed their time, old hurt, old blame, old fear, old clinging, begin to pour out on their own. You don't have to force yourself to forget. You don't have to force yourself to forgive. You just need to tilt a little. Make room for something kinder. The cup isn't beneath the water. It simply lowers itself just enough to be filled. You are the same. You are not small. You are not weak. You are not less than. You're just bowing a little, so peace has a place to enter. Let tonight be a moment you lean just a little, less resisting, less forcing, less controlling, less trying to get over it right now. Just open, and the water of compassion will find its way in. The same way it always has. The same way it always knows. Mornings on the river always had their own color. Not the bright blue of daytime, not the black of night, but a clear, gentle gray. Like when someone has just finished crying and washed their face in rainwater. Still wet, but already starting to feel lighter. The fisherman, Jonah, stood at the bow of his boat, staring into that sky with eyes that had gone many nights without sleep. He had been hauling nets since dawn. For years, his life moved in one exhausting cycle, catching more fish to pay off debt, catching more to pay for his child's schooling, catching more in case of sickness, catching more so he wouldn't feel useless. One sentence repeated in his mind like a tight knot. I have to push. I can't be weak. If I stop, who will take care of my family? And so, whether it rained or burned with sun, whether the wind was calm or stormy, Jonah still went to the river. He thought that was responsibility, but slowly it had become a heavy coat. He no longer knew how to take off. That morning, the river felt different. The water seemed heavier, the waves more crowded. Jonah cast his net like he always did, pulled hard, one hand gripping the boat, the other trying to lift the net. But today, the net stayed stuck. He pulled harder, jaw tightening, breath burning, whispering to himself, I can't lose. I need those fish. But the harder he pulled, the tighter the net tangled, the knots pulling into each other, like the thoughts tightening around his heart. Finally, he dropped the net, sinking onto the bench, chest heaving, whispering the only sentence he had left. I can't be weak. I can't be weak. When the sun rose higher, Jonah guided his boat toward shore to untangle the net. There, an old woman with silver hair sat on a rock, feet just touching the water's surface. She looked at him as if she had been waiting. Net all tangled? She asked softly. Jonah nodded, surprised anyone had noticed him. Yes, the water's heavy today. I keep pulling, but it won't come up. She nodded slowly. Sometimes, she said, it isn't the water that's heavy. It's that your hands are trying to pull things that don't need to be pulled. Jonah didn't understand, but something about her voice made him calm. The old woman began a story. Long ago, there was a fisherman like you. He worked from dawn to the darkest night, always trying to catch more, believing that if his boat came home full, the worry at home would shrink, and his heart would be lighter. But the more he caught, the more he feared tomorrow. Then one day he fell ill, couldn't row at all. Lying in bed, he looked out at the river, and for the first time noticed something. The river still flowed. The sun still rose. Other fishermen still went out. The world did not collapse because he took one day off. Jonah swallowed hard. "I'm afraid," he whispered. "If I stop pushing, everyone will suffer. I'm scared if I soften even a little, life will crush me." The old woman gazed at him kindly. "Do you know what happens to a net?" she asked. "When you pull too hard, it breaks?" "Yes," she nodded. "And the heart is the same." She scooped water into her palm. "Clench your fist tight," she said, "and try to hold the water." Jonah squeezed until his knuckles turned white, but the water slipped out. "Now open your hand," she whispered. She poured water into his relaxed palm, and this time it stayed a little longer. "See," she murmured, "when you clench, you lose more than you keep. When you open, life helps you hold what matters." Jonah turned to his net, realizing the tangled mess came from him pulling too hard. "So what should I do?" She smiled softly. "Notice that you've been pulling alone, believing you are the only one who can hold everything up. But the water has been lifting you, the wind pushing you, and the people you love have been helping quietly." Jonah remembered his wife at the market, his child studying, his neighbor who fixed his net, the lender who gave him extra time. He was not alone. He had simply closed himself so tightly, he couldn't feel it anymore. The old woman said, "Tomorrow, before you cast your net, watch the water. If the current is too strong, allow yourself to wait. If your heart is heavy, allow yourself to go home early. That is not weakness. That is letting life carry you." That evening, Jonah tied the boat early, leaned back, and watched the first stars. Restlessness tried to return, but slowly he realized, right now nothing is falling apart. He placed his hand on his chest, breathed softly, and whispered, "I'm tired, and I'm allowed to be tired." The days after were different. Jonah still worked, still fished, still cared for his family, but no longer by breaking himself. He watched the water first, rowed only when it made sense, asked for help when needed, rested without guilt, and, strangely, his life didn't fall apart. It became lighter. Months later, he saw the old woman again. "How are you?" she asked. Jonah smiled soft and true. "I still fish," he said, "but I no longer believe I have to hold up the whole river." The old woman nodded. "It's not by straining that you go far," she said. "It's by opening your heart so you can be carried." You can gently come back to your body for a moment. Feel the night air glide across your neck, the coolness settling softly on your shoulders. Then let your chest, the place that's been tight all day, rise slowly as you breathe in, and soften as you breathe out. That feeling is like the river placing its hand on your back. You don't have to try to relax. Just let your body soften on its own. When the body softens, the mind naturally loosens the things holding tight. You've been trying so hard. I know you have. On the days when the wind was harsh, you still rowed. On the nights when the water was rough, you still swam across. You kept believing you had to keep straining to stop everything from falling apart. But the truth is, no one ever asked you to fight the whole river. You're tired, not because you're weak. You're tired because you've been strong for far too long. Because somewhere inside, you thought you were the only one holding everything up. But just like Jonah realized, and just like the river is whispering to you tonight, you don't have to strain. You only need to soften so life can help carry you. Your breath, even now, has begun to slow just a little. And that is the sign your body is remembering its old, natural way of being calm. You don't have to force calmness. You just need to sit here and let the steady rhythm of the night wrap around you. There is nothing you need to finish right now. No one is waiting for your reply. No demand is knocking on your mind. It's just you and a gentle sky opening a little more space for your heart to breathe. Allow yourself to not push anymore. Allow yourself to lean a little into the night. You are not alone. The night is holding you. The whole river is holding you. Now imagine yourself becoming a small drop of water inside the great river of the universe. No straining to float. No trying to stay above anything. Just drifting in the gentle arms of the night's current. The sky above you opens into an even softer light, reminding you that you belong to this world far more than you ever knew. You are not left behind. You are being lifted. If you're still awake, I'm still here, sitting beside you with every breath. And if you've already drifted into sleep, I hope tonight holds you so gently, the way the river holds a tired boat. If these stories made you feel even a little lighter, you can leave me a small note or subscribe so I can meet you again on the nights when you need quiet. Sleep well. Sleep well.